Hey gang, welcome back to another video here at Jade's Garage. Today's video will be part 4 in the repair series on this fender for the 68 Mustang known as Jade. If you like videos like this, I suggest you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to see more. Alright, the 3 other videos dealt with impact damage to the front of this fender. Now, I had removed the headlight bucket. I'd also done repair work on this flange and straightened out some pieces there. I built a new nose piece, welded all those pieces in, and I also rebuilt the headlight bucket and reinstalled that. So the front section is done. Now, what I want to deal with in this video is the antenna hole. You know, a lot of times these were installed at a dealer. They weren't very well done in a lot of cases, and I'm just not a fan of that antenna sticking out of the fender. I just don't like the looks of it. So I'm going to use a different type of antenna, and I want to eliminate this hole. So that's going to be the focus of this video. Along with that, I want to take care of some dents that are up here in the front section, get those taken out. There's also a couple of holes down in the bottom where the trim piece went on the rocker panel and the fender. I'm going to eliminate those holes. I don't plan to put the trim back on this car, at least not in that section. And that's going to be it. So let's get started on fixing this antenna hole. Now, as I stated, this hole was probably cut in at the dealership. I assume it's not a true hole. It's kind of a little bit oval shape, and it's also got some kick up here on the edges where during the assembly of the antenna they may have compressed the bottom side of the fender and created a wave. So that is not a good thing either. So I'm going to have to address that. To do that, I'm going to start with, I'm going to experiment a little bit with a hammer and dolly and try to smooth this up as much as I can. If it doesn't work, I'll just make the hole bigger and create a bigger patch. So simple dolly, body hammer, get that up in place. Yeah, it's not really wanting to move. I'm going to experiment a little bit, and I'm going to do what I call hammer off dolly. It's a common term, and that is, instead of just placing the dolly right underneath the area that I want to hit, I'm going to set it off just a little bit behind the area that I want to hit, because it's going to fight me as I hit it. It doesn't have anywhere to go. But if I put the dolly behind that little high spot, I might be able to push down that flange just a little bit. So I'm going to put that behind. It worked a little bit, but I think it's a lost cause. So let's go to plan B. Alright, so I want to make a round hole. I found that this socket, which is 1.25 inches, will probably be a good reference. And I can also feel if it's hitting those high spots when I slide it around, so that it gives me a good reference point. And I know that I've covered that area. So just going to trace that. Yeah, that's close enough. That gives me a nice reference point that I can cut to. Now the hard part is, how do you cut this out, right? Well, you could use a hole saw, which I don't know that I have one, but I'll look and see if I do. But a hole saw is going to be a little bit rough. I could use the nibbler tool that I've used before, get it close, and then take a circular sanding disc, a Tootsie Roll style, and just clean it up. That may be an option. Otherwise, it's up to you, but I'll see what I can come up with. I thought I might have had a hole saw, but I don't. So, the nibbler. Now I'm going to be careful that I don't go crazy and make, an odd shaped hole. So I'm going to go work slowly. Another option, rotary file. I use this a lot, very handy. Now another thing you could use is, half round file and file down these edges, but I'm not going to do that because I have some 1-inch sanding drums that I'm just going to clean up the edge of the hole with. That'll work. So you may ask yourself, why are we continuing to make a round hole as opposed to maybe cutting out a square hole? And I mentioned this before on one of the other repairs that I did. I was watching Ken Diggett Designs on the TV, and they were talking about doing a fender repair that had a jagged hole in it, and they pointed out that if you do a square cut, that when you weld it, it's going to want to pull in at those corners and create a wave or distortion. If you do a round hole, then it wants to pull from all different sides and helps keep it flat. So I just wanted to show you, got pretty close on that. And now what I plan to do is make a filler piece. There's a couple ways that I could do this. I'm going to show you one way, maybe I'll show you two, but I'm going to show you one for sure, and that is using my throatless shear. You could use the nibbler, you could trace this out like I'm going to do right here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I take this piece, and now I have at least a shape that I can go by. And you may have also noticed when I was sanding this down, I beveled this edge just slightly so that when I weld it, the weld has something to go into. But now I have a circle that I can take, like I said, I could take the nibbler and just trace this around, take a sanding disc and work it in to that hole, or I could use a throatless shear. So let's take a look at the throatless shear. This is a throatless shear. Basically, it's just a manually operated shear that can cut metal. They sell these at Harbor Freight. I'm not saying you need to get one, but I really like using this for jobs like this, or if I have some other patchwork that I need to cut. So all I plan to do is follow the pattern and cut this circle out as close as I can. So you can see you can follow that line pretty close. And what I'm doing here is cutting off some of those excess pieces so that I can rotate this around. So there it is. Pretty close. Pretty close. Now I can take the sanding disc and clean it up. Now I could have made this a little bit bigger. I can see that. I cut a little bit too close on the line, but I actually think that's going to work. He gave me just enough of a gap that I can fill that in. All right, Let me get the welder set up and we can start tacking this in. See if this works. That's pretty close. Let's see if we can tack this in. I think the magnet is actually affecting the weld, but I've had that happen before on other projects. Let me see if I can at least get it to hold in place, and then we can move the magnet. Okay. I think we're okay. Now, I'm still not going to get in a hurry. I don't want to go crazy and try to weld all this in and manage to, distort it in some way from too much heat. So this might take a little bit, but I'm going to let it cool and come back and finish or do more tacks. And you can see I did blend down those welds that I had. Now it's cooled off a little bit. Keep tacking. Same thing. Let it cool, come back. I must say, that actually worked better than I expected. There's still just a little bit of, variation to it. A little bit of filler. We'll take care of that. But yeah, that's good. I like it. Now I'll move on to the other holes that I want to weld shut. These are the two holes for the trim where it had rivets. And then there's another one up front here. It's a bit bigger. I'll address that one a little bit different. These, I'm just going to tack them shut. Nothing difficult. Now this one's a bit bigger, so I'm going to handle this a little bit differently. I have a piece of copper that I'm going to put up behind it, clamp it in place, and just use that to support the weld. And again, I'm not going to get in a hurry. I'm going to let this cool a little bit, throw some more tacks on there. Alright, so I have one more area that I want to address, and it is right here. Something hit this, and it has really two dents coming down into the panel right on the body line. So to show you that, I could take this scale and put it, or this ruler, and put it in place, but it's kind of hard to see. So if I add this light behind it, hopefully now you can see a bit more of that gap. So really all I want to do is get this a lot closer to flat. I know that it's going to take filler regardless, but I can eliminate a lot of filler by working this up. To do that, I'm simply going to take my body hammer and various dollies and tap on it and try to work it up into position. Now I will say this is a little bit challenging to demonstrate. I would rather have this fender standing upright so that I have easier access to the backside, but I have it on my stand right now so that you can see what's going on. Oh yeah, that's much better. Just a little bit left. Big improvement. I'm not even sure if I want to go much more. Yeah. A little bit too much. Yeah, that's where I need to stop, right there. Just barely. And like I said, I don't need it to be perfect. You know, a little bit of filler, take care of that. Still just a little bit right there, but much, much better. I think that's going to be the end of this video. I had thought about doing a segment on spraying epoxy back onto this fender, but I think I'll save that for the next segment. At this point, I'm happy with how these are looking. Now, I also did some repair work on the driver's side fender. You know, I'd already done the fender repair on the back where I replaced the lower section that was rusted off. And when I started looking this over a little closer, I discovered that somebody had used fiberglass and patched this inner structure. It had a similar hole, actually a bigger hole area than what this one had. So I was able to repair it on the fender. I didn't take it apart. So it's all good to go. Now, again, I want to get epoxy on both of these. I'll be adding more filler to smooth up some of these transitions. I know this fender has a couple dents up on the top. And of course, you know, this one I worked these dents out as best I could. So it's going to take some filler to smooth these fenders out completely. But I am very happy with how these are looking right now. Now, along with that, I still have to clean all the paint off of the headlight bucket or extensions. I also need to clean off the paint for the front valance, the rear valance, and any other pieces and parts that are associated with having color on them. The other thing that I have to do is get the hood out. And I'll probably do a test fit to make sure, you know, I've already done it, but I'll probably do it again to make sure the fenders line up properly, the hood lines up properly, and all those pieces look good. From there, again, more body work, body filler, all that sort of thing to make this thing ready for paint. So let me thank you for watching. Thank you if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. I want to thank all of you that will be using Amazon to buy products. Helps me out. You know, I get a little percentage if you use my link for Amazon. Those that have been patrons to my channel, I genuinely appreciate all of that effort that you're putting into my channel. Very much appreciated. And again, t-shirts available on Teespring. I'm still working on hats. Hopefully they get here, or we get this resolved soon so that I can get more hats out. But that's going to be it. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya. And what that did is it distorted the inner flange up here and carnage. Alright, so in the first repair video that I did on this fender, I removed and I also rebuilt the headlight bucket and put it in place. Okay, I thought I had a hole saw. I'm going to be careful that I don't go crazy and make, you know, an odd shaped hole. So I'm going to go work slowly.